This video is my no phony baloney best tips to take care of yourself without breaking the bank. Some of the simplest things that you can do for your health and well-being are totally free, such as what I'm doing right now, which is sitting on the floor, enjoying the park, which can be done almost any time or any place by anyone of any fitness level. All you need is an old blanket or sheet to take to the park. I happen to have bought a few basic things that are easy to carry, but this is not required. Simple grounding exercises such as walking with your feet actually on the earth is great for stress relief and bringing yourself back into the present moment. Walking with bare feet increases awareness to renew your senses after extended screen time. Self-care is healthcare, and if you neglect your body's needs and you don't eat right and you don't exercise, it will catch up to you and it will cost you more in the long run. You'd be amazed how much flexibility is required to get down here on the ground. I know, because it took me a couple of months to get down here and be able to get back up easily. So now I'm able to enjoy this beautiful park and not have to worry about my less than graceful climb back up. But that being said, there is a lot of benefit for your physical and mental health to just come to the park, whether it's for a walk or a relaxing day, just like I'm having today. I hope you enjoy coming along with me on this gorgeous walk as we talk about one of the biggest trends I've seen as of late, which is analog living. Now, I am super excited for the trend of analog living. I think it is really headed in the right direction. But here's what I don't think is headed in the right direction, and that is the excessive consumerism that seems to follow every trend. While the trend itself is awesome, but the issue has just been the excessive consumerism that I've been seeing popping up, such as an analog bag. I've been seeing these analog bags everywhere. You need a special bag to carry your knitting needles and your book. No, you don't. Just grab whatever large size tote you happen to have already. Don't go buying a new bag that's special analog bag. It's just complete nonsense. Wasting your money. We already don't have money in this economy. We can't be wasting money on garbage like that. And I've also been seeing a lot of cheap watches, clocks, old cameras popping up on Temu. For the love of all that is holy, just go to estate sales and vintage stores and try to locate an older item that's already there, high quality. Don't waste your money. And you don't need to buy a bunch of physical books either. Just go to the library. Save your money. Save it for something more important. Enjoy the trend of analog living, but it is certainly not necessary to go out and buy a bunch of things in order to follow this trend. There is no shortage of social media influencers trying to convince you to buy the next big weight loss product. But the reality is most of us are struggling with rising prices and inflation, and we don't have money to throw away on false promises that aren't going to be beneficial. And I feel like the easiest place to fall into that trap is when it comes to weight loss. My jiggle board, or vibration plate as it's actually called, is the perfect example. There have been a lot of social media influencers pushing cheaper versions of this higher quality product. This one is from Life Pro. It is good quality. They stand behind their product with a lifetime guarantee. There is a lot of conflicting information on social media these days. They have become increasingly popular with a lot of social media influencers pushing this as like the magic bullet of weight loss. You just stand on it and your fat just jiggles right off. As someone who has been using this machine now for a couple of years, I will say that is definitely not the case. I personally use this machine for lymphatic drainage, and it seems to boost my circulation and reduce bloating. Little bit of torso rotation. You can feel the burn throughout your core and your entire abdomen. It really doesn't take much movement, and you get a lot of burn on the muscle that you are working. But let me tell you what happened to my friend. She tried mine and she really liked it, so she bought a cheaper version of what I have, and hers broke. I don't even think it was a month or two into her using it. So the moral of the story here is don't buy the cheap junky ones. If something is important enough for you to buy, it's important to spend the money to get something that will actually last you. If you plan to buy it, it would be much better to just go ahead and save up the money until you have the money to buy something good. So I love using this just to burn a couple extra 100 calories on a workout day. I like using this on off days when I just don't feel like exercising at all. I can usually convince myself to get on here for at least 10 to 20 minutes, and it's really a big help. After these simple lower body exercises, my buns are on fire. And so on one side, you have influencers who are pushing these for their own financial gain. And on the other side, I've actually seen some influencers criticizing these as environmentally wasteful. And to be honest, I think both viewpoints are too extreme. If you use it regularly and you get your money's worth and you buy a good quality one that's not going to break down and end up in a landfill, I think that this is a terrific option. I do not regret buying mine. I would buy it all over again if I had the choice. I'm not sure I've really mentioned it before, but I do have an Amazon storefront. This is on there along with all of my other favorite stuff. So it is there if you're interested. Weight loss is a real pain point for most of us. And you know what? People who stand to benefit from that know that. That's why they do what they do, because they can get away with it. Every time we turn around, there is someone trying to sell us something, whether it be some kind of magic pills in the form of supplements or ways to get fit with no effort. But my focus is not only on losing weight, but also just developing a healthier lifestyle that I can actually stick to over the long haul, because I know deep down the only way that I can make realistic changes is to do sustainable things that fit into my lifestyle on a permanent basis. And so while diet is a huge part of my weight loss journey, fitness is the other primary component. Fit On is one of my favorite fitness apps. It has a free basic version and it has lots of options. It has an upgrade option to a pro version. So if you're looking for more features, you might consider upgrading. But if you're on a tight budget, this is a great free option, especially when combined with YouTube. To get more out of these workouts, you could always invest in an inexpensive pair of dumbbells. Or sometimes you can also find these at garage sales or thrift stores for little of nothing. But generally speaking, dumbbells are inexpensive and they don't require very much space to store, but they can add quite a bit of resistance to any home workout, making this an inexpensive and feasible option for the majority of folks. I bought a set of hand weights like this. They are 1 pound each. So these are easy to hold in your hands. I use these around the house. I also use these at the park to walk. In addition to these little handheld weights, which do add an element of fitness to just a simple walk outside, and they're not all that expensive. You can pick up a pair of these for little or nothing. The second weight that I like to use are these wrist and ankle weights. So I can actually use the ankle weights for gentle exercises of my legs. It adds some resistance to your legs as you walk, but it's also great to stop and do some short little leg exercises with these light ankle weights. I have one set of the hand weights and one set of the wrist ankle weights. Sometimes I do just use these on my wrists. If I want to have my hands free, if I don't want to be having something in my hands, sometimes I will just use these on my wrists. Other times I combine these two together and use these for my ankle and these for my arms. This makes walking just a little bit more challenging, but these are not large investments. On most days when the weather is good, a good pair of sneakers and a couple of basic weights to help add just a little bit of extra resistance to your arms and legs, I find that to be plenty. And to add some additional resistance, I also like to have a set of 5 pound dumbbells. Next on the list is a good set of resistance bands. You'll notice that these are cloth resistance bands. They are comfortable to use. I don't really like the rubbery ones because they just hurt my skin to use. So I prefer these soft, rubbery type. These are big loops. And I use these for a variety of things because I can actually work out my entire body with these. I have trouble with my ankle because of a car accident that I had years ago, and I broke my ankle. So I personally love using these. I have some exercises that I do, I should say stretches. There's stretches that I do to help with that ankle. And so these resistance bands really help me to get a good stretch of that ankle. But I use these on the floor all the time for various exercises and various whole body exercises. So I highly recommend a good set of resistance bands. When you sign on social media, everyone is trying to sell you everything, and that can get costly. Most of us do not have the budget for that. So the most important thing is to hone in on spending your money on things that are actually going to benefit you. And so personally, I find more benefit in doing simple things like walking outdoors. But the problem with walking outdoors is it's not something you can do every single day. I live in Houston, it gets hot. Sometimes it's raining cats and dogs or storming outside and you can't go outside for a walk. And if you buy a treadmill, it takes up so much space in your house, and not to mention the price point. In a world where people are just trying to sell you solutions, a lot of which just don't work, or a lot of which are just bogus, or are being framed in such a way that they are a one-size-fits-all magic weight loss solution, when that really doesn't seem to exist. Now, when it comes to home fitness equipment, I think there are two things that I consider. One is price, because I don't want to spend a fortune on something, and I also don't want to have to store something that is huge. So it needs to be small and compact, and it needs to be reasonable in price. The first one is my QB elliptical. We have everything from a very manual, no bells and whistles version, all the way up to one that I think it syncs with an app. Okay, I don't have that version. I got sort of the more standard version that is more manual, because I just don't think I really need that. You know, I don't need an exercise routine to go with it. It's an elliptical. I pull it out when I'm watching TV if I'm feeling like a couch potato and I just want to watch some YouTube or whatever I'm doing, watching the TV, watching a movie, whatever it is, but I still want to get some movement in. I enjoy using that little seated elliptical at the couch. I almost always either use it sitting on the couch, or I have a bench that was given to us by my sister. She didn't have room for it, didn't use it, whatever it was, and she gave it to us. My husband is really big on working out in the gym, so he uses that weight bench a lot. And I do use it a little bit for my upper body, especially since it was something that was free. Why not? And we do have the space for it. But I'll be honest, in my case, I mostly use that workout bench to sit my booty on so that I can sit there and use my elliptical while I listen to music or watch TV or watch something on my phone. That's how I use it. But it's just a way that on days when I'm really not feeling it, I'm really just don't have the energy to get up and do a full-on Zumba routine or something. Just don't have the energy for that. The elliptical is something that I can sit and I can still get some cardio in a comfortable manner. And so I just find this to be a very reasonable way that when I'm having a day where I just don't feel like walking, I just don't feel like I can't get out of the house because the weather is bad, I just don't feel like going outside to go for a walk. Most days, honestly, if the weather's good enough, I feel like going outside for a walk, but sometimes you just get in that mood where you don't feel like going outside the house. That's the days that I use that little elliptical, because I can just sit in a comfortable position on the couch with a pillow behind my back to kind of push me to the front of the couch so that I can comfortably use that elliptical and get in a little bit of cardio. And when I use my QB sitting on the workout bench, it provides a very stable surface for me to have good posture, and that helps to work my core at the exact same time that I'm working my legs. And then that second piece of equipment that I was referring to was my jiggle plate, or my vibration plate as it's really called. I use it every single day for 10 to 20 minutes. Usually it's 2 10-minute sessions. And I will often use it before I go out on a walk because it helps to limber up my muscles and loosen me up and warm me up for exercise. So a lot of times I will jump on that machine, use it for 10 minutes just to warm up, and then I will go for a walk, and then I will come back, and sometimes I will cool down, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll just stretch, like, just do some stretches to kind of cool down. And you don't need any equipment for that. By the way, sitting on the floor is another super easy thing that I've been able to do to help with back pain. And believe me, I'm a big person. If I can get my butt down on the floor, you probably can too, unless, maybe you have knee issues or something and your doctor said don't do it, then that's another story. But if you're generally overall healthy, sitting your butt on the floor is a great way to just stretch and keep that flexibility in your hips and reduce back pain, or at least that has been my experience, even as a pretty big person who in the beginning struggled like heck just to get my butt on the floor and get back up again, which is terrible. At my age, I feel like that's unacceptable. But anyway, I digress. I can now, after weeks of sitting on the floor, probably 2 months at this point, I can now get down and get back up with a lot less effort. Before, I would sit down and I was like, you know what? I'm only getting up if I really need something, because it's so hard to get down and get back up. That's terrible. I'm 41. I'm not supposed to be this out of shape at this age. So yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother story. But sitting on the floor has a lot of benefit. And that's something that I have been doing, and it doesn't cost me any money. So I would also suggest that. Back to my vibration plate. I use it for lymphatic drainage. I use it to help with circulation and reduce bloating. I use it to reduce my back pain. I use it to warm up my body before I do a full-on exercise. I use it to do simple exercises such as lunges and squats and calf raises to help increase the resistance on my muscles. So that is basically using it to make simple exercises that I can do indoors a little more challenging. So as for fitness on the cheap, that is reasonable and attainable, even on a tight budget, that would be my suggestion.